Dear listeners, before we get started, drop a quick hi in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you have any suggestions for us to make the channel better, please let us know. Now let's start with the story. I'm Maxwell. I'm 44. Natalia is 39. We've been holding it together for 12 years, barely at times, but we've made it work. We've got 2 kids, 9 and 5, and we're not living large or anything, but we've carved out a decent setup. I've been grinding at the warehouse full time, pulling in just enough to keep a roof over our heads, pay for our beat-up minivan, and maybe splurge on pizza once in a while when the kids ask nicely. Weekends, I'd pick up hours at the supermarket, helping them out with their football promo events and some billing work. It wasn't glamorous, but it helped us stay afloat. Natalia worked part-time at this little boutique downtown. That gig let her be home with the kids when they needed her most. We weren't sipping champagne or taking vacations, but we were okay. Solid. Then, 2 years ago, everything went to hell. I was driving home from work, bone-tired as usual, when this rich asshole in a fancy car comes flying around a curve like he's in a damn Fast and Furious movie. Loses control, slams straight into me. I blacked out. Woke up to pain I didn't even know was possible. Thought I was paralyzed. Spine was wrecked, completely wrecked. Doctors said I'd need multiple surgeries. Pins. Plates. Months of rehab. Learning to walk again. The kind of pain that makes you forget your own name some days. But worse than the pain, the bills. Jesus. 6 figures. I'm not exaggerating. Surgeries, medications, physical therapy. Insurance? Barely covered a third. The rest was on us. I never realized how broken the system is until I was the one caught in it. We burned through our savings fast. Every penny Natalia and I had scraped together for a rainy day just vanished. Poof. Gone. We started leaning on the credit cards. First just one, then another. Before we knew it, we maxed them all out. The calls started not long after that. Collection agencies. Their voicemails made my stomach twist. That cold, robotic voice saying words like delinquent and legal action. I'd delete them before Natalia could hear, pretending everything was under control. It wasn't. We were drowning. I was supposed to rest, let my body heal. That was the plan. But we couldn't afford for me to be out of work. So I did the stupidest thing I've ever done. I went back 2 months after my last surgery. Against every doctor's order. Lifting boxes at the warehouse felt like someone was jamming a screwdriver into my spine. I'd pop painkillers like Tic Tacs just to stay upright. Clench my jaw, breathe through the pain, and keep pushing. But I could feel it. My body wasn't healing. Every shift slowed my recovery. Some days, by the time I clocked out, I could barely stand. I'd drag myself home, collapse on the couch, shoes still on. No energy to eat. No energy to speak. And then I'd feel her weight on me. My daughter, climbing onto my lap with a book in her hand. Daddy, can you read me Hop on Pop? I'd try. God, I'd try. But I'd feel the stabbing pain shoot down my back just from shifting. I'd look into her eyes and say, not tonight, kiddo. Hating myself every time. My son started acting out. Throwing fits over little things, spilled milk, bedtime, a broken toy. At first, I brushed it off as just a phase, but deep down, I knew. He could feel the tension. Kids always can. They're like little emotional sponges, soaking up everything you try to hide. I tried not to yell. God knows I tried. But the pain never left me. It clung to my back like a parasite. Constant. Nagging. Some mornings, it took me 10 minutes just to sit up in bed. I was frustrated all the time. Short-tempered. Stretched too thin. But I had to keep going. For my family's sake. Resting wasn't an option. Weekends weren't a break anymore. They were just another shift. I couldn't afford to give up the supermarket job. That little extra income was all we had to keep things from completely falling apart. Our lifestyle took a nosedive. Before the accident, we had a little breathing room. Not much, but enough. Friday nights used to mean burgers at the diner, maybe a cheap movie if the kids behaved. Once a year, we'd rent this old, creaky cabin by the lake. No Wi-Fi, but lots of laughter. We'd splash around in the water, make esmores by the fire, watch the stars come out. It was simple, but it was ours. Now, all of that was gone. Cable? Cancelled. Netflix? Gone. Every expense that wasn't nailed down, we cut. The kids' soccer league? Couldn't afford the sign-up fees, let alone the gas to get them to practice. No new clothes in over a year. We patched up the old ones and hoped they'd last. Our fridge went from fruits and fresh veggies to just surviving. Store-brand cereal, ramen, whatever was on clearance. Natalia tried to make it look okay for the kids, but I'd catch her staring at the shelves like she was doing battle with guilt. We stopped having friends over. Couldn't afford to host. And honestly, the house was a wreck. Too many things broken, too little energy to fix any of it. No more date nights. No little treats. No quiet moments to just be. Natalia and I used to sneak out for coffee or a beer, just to talk, to reconnect. Now, We were too tired, too broke. And when we did talk, it wasn't about dreams anymore. It was about money, pain, deadlines. She stepped up big time. Went from part-time at the boutique to full-time at an office job. It paid better, but it meant she was gone all day. She'd come home exhausted, then scramble to get dinner together while the kids tugged at her sleeves. I saw the lines forming around her eyes. The way she sighed without realizing. The way she started looking through me instead of at me. I promised her I'd fix this. That I was chasing a promotion at the warehouse. If I could land it, we'd have some breathing room. Maybe she could go back to part-time. But truth is, it's a long shot. And I think she's past believing me. One night, after dinner, she was washing dishes while I sat at the table trying to stretch out my back. She didn't even look at me when she said, "If you hadn't gone back to work so soon, maybe you wouldn't be in pain all the time." It hurts. Because she wasn't wrong. If I hadn't gone back to work so soon, maybe I wouldn't be in this much pain every damn day. But what the hell was I supposed to do? Sit around and let everything fall apart? We were 4 months behind on the mortgage. We were staring down foreclosure. The bank had started calling. Friendly at first, then not so friendly. Over the past year, the fights with Natalia have become constant. It's like we're always on edge, always one wrong word away from blowing up. Every little thing, a tone, a sigh, a sideways glance, turned into shouting matches. And I didn't even have the strength to argue anymore. Most days I was just too damn tired. Then came the wedding invite. A month ago, Natalia got this fancy embossed card from one of her school friends. Lavish 3-day wedding in Florida, pre-wedding party, the main event, brunches, and post-wedding celebrations. Full production. She lit up when she opened it. Like, actually lit up. I hadn't seen that look on her face in months. "I have to go," she said, clutching the card like it was a golden ticket. Problem was, who the hell was going to watch the kids? We couldn't afford a babysitter, and with my back the way it was, handling both of them alone wasn't just hard. It was dangerous. Before the accident, I'd have managed. Hell, I used to run after them, wrestle, do piggyback rides. Now, lifting my youngest for a diaper change feels like a knife slicing down my spine. And my son? He's a whirlwind. Nonstop. I love him, but keeping up with him is like chasing a runaway train. I begged Natalia, to cut the trip short. "Just go to the ceremony," I said one night as we sat across the kitchen table. "Skip the extra parties, come back the next day. Please. I can't do this alone right now." She slammed her fork down. "I deserve this break, Max. One weekend. That's all I'm asking." We went in circles for weeks. Every time I brought it up, it ended in another fight. Accusations. Tears. Silence. Finally, she came in one night and said, "My mom's going to help. She'll stay with the kids while I'm gone. You won't have to do it alone." I let out a breath I didn't even realize I'd been holding. "Okay," I said. "That works. I thought we had a plan." Then came yesterday. I got home from the warehouse, limping through the front door. My shirt was soaked with sweat. My back felt like it had been beaten with a crowbar. The place was a wreck. Toys scattered everywhere. Half a juice box soaking into the rug. Dishes stacked like a tower in the sink. No dinner. No sign of anything being prepared. And there she was, Natalia, standing in the living room with a suitcase at her feet. Lipstick on, heels already strapped, dressed to the nines like she was heading to a gala. I blinked. "What the hell, Natalia?" She didn't even flinch. Just adjusted her bag on her shoulder and said, "I don't have time to make dinner or clean up the kids. It's on you now." It felt like someone socked me in the gut. I looked around the room, then back at her. "Where's your mom?" She rolled her eyes. "Call and check." And then she was out the door. Just like that. I stood there stunned. Kids yelling in the background, the mess all around me, and no backup. I called her mom. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Same result. So I did what I had to do. Dragged myself into the kitchen, grabbed a box of mac and cheese, and got to work. Stirring with one hand, picking up Legos with the other. Got the kids fed, cleaned them up, brushed their teeth, got them into bed. All while my back was killing me. No sign of her mom. I stood in the kitchen that night, the kids finally asleep, and I was seething. My back throbbed with every step, and the silence in the house only made the rage ring louder in my head. I picked up my phone and called Natalia. She answered on the second ring, but before I could even speak, she snapped. "Can't you, Jack? Can't you manage for a weekend? I've been doing this alone for years." Her voice was sharp, full of venom, like I was the one abandoning her. I nearly yelled back, but I didn't have it in me. I was so damn tired. Bone deep, soul-crushing tired. What was the point? So I hung up and went back to the kitchen. Cleaned up the leftover mac and cheese. Picked up the juice-stained towels. Focused on what needed to be done. That's all I could do. The next morning, I woke up hoping maybe there had been a misunderstanding. Maybe her mom would show up, surprise us with pancakes or something. Instead, I woke up to a text from her mom. "Out of town this weekend. Sorry. Can't help. Hope you manage. That was it. No explanation. Nothing. I stared at my phone, barely able to process. Then I called her. I was shaking with frustration when she picked up. How could you ditch us like that? I asked. I never agreed to anything, she said casually. Natalia said I'd try. That's all. Try? I called Natalia immediately. I didn't even care about keeping my tone down anymore. Your mom said she never agreed to anything. You left me here knowing damn well she wasn't coming. She didn't even sound surprised. Mom said she'd try. Looks like she couldn't. Just a weekend, Max, hang in there. I hung up. I couldn't do it anymore. No good was going to come from talking to her. I called up my manager at the supermarket. Told him I had to call in sick for the weekend. He wasn't pleased. You couldn't tell me this yesterday, Maxwell. I closed my eyes and swallowed the anger. I didn't know until just now. He sighed. Well, don't expect hours next week. Click. Great. One more fire I'd have to put out. Meanwhile, Natalia was probably off in Florida, sipping cocktails, laughing with friends, dancing under fairy lights while I'm here patching our lives together with duct tape and prayers. I feel like I'm at the end of my rope, man. I really do. It's all just too much. The pain, the debt, the yelling, the silence that follows. I'm 1 inch from saying, screw it. From walking away from this marriage. The water's hit the ceiling, and I don't know how much longer I can keep swimming. And I keep asking myself, am I overreacting? How would anyone else react to this? Let me be clear. It's not just this one weekend. This isn't about a wedding. It's been building. This is just the tipping point. Her nagging's relentless. Every day it's something. The passive-aggressive digs. The jabs. The blame. Like it was my fault that some jackass drove into me and flipped our lives upside down. I'm still out here, dragging my busted body to work, trying to pull us out of the wreckage. Trying to give her the life she wants, the life we used to talk about. But it feels like she doesn't have the patience anymore. We went at it for days after she came back. Yelling, slamming doors, pointing fingers. Me, asking how she could leave me high and dry like that. Her, shrugging, brushing me off like I was being irrational. Eventually, I let it go. What else could I do? Divorce felt too expensive. I was already drowning in medical debt, and I figured maybe she was just burnt out. Between her full-time job and the kids, I kept telling myself maybe she was just carrying a lot. Maybe she really did need that break. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. I really did. I didn't have the energy to fight anymore. Between my job, my wrecked back, the kids, and the mountain of debt, I had enough battles on my plate. So I told myself things would settle down. That once the wedding was over, she'd come back to herself, back to us. But nope. If anything, it got worse. She started acting like a completely different person. Cold. Distant. She'd come home late from work and barely make eye contact. I'd ask, where were you? And she'd just shrug. Hanging with friends, she'd say like it was nothing. No detail. No care. Like I was the one being ridiculous for even asking. There was no guilt. No hesitation. She'd just waltz in, dump her bag, and head to the bedroom or out again, leaving me to deal with the kids, the mess, the pain. One night, I was sitting on the couch with a heating pad pressed to my back, trying to breathe through the fire in my spine. The kids were running wild, and I called out, "Can you help? Please. Just get them ready for bed. I'm dead on my feet." She didn't even look at me, just grabbed her purse. "You got this," she said flatly. I stared at her. Seriously? I can barely stand. She turned at the door, hand on the knob, and said, "I've done enough for the kids and the house. Time for you to step up." My voice cracked, part pain, part frustration. "You think I'm not stepping up?" She didn't even flinch, just gave me that cold, fearless look. Eyes like stone. "Can you stop me from living my life?" It wasn't just the words. It was everything. The way she stood, the way she dared me to respond. Like she wanted me to blow up. And she knew. She knew I wasn't that guy. I'd never laid a hand on her. Never even thought about it. But it was like she was pushing, testing something, waiting for a reaction. That's when it clicked. She was cheating. I didn't want to believe it. 12 years. 2 kids. Everything we'd been through. All the crap we survived together. I thought we were stronger than that. But the signs were screaming at me. The late nights. The dodging. The way she'd light up when her phone buzzed and quickly turn the screen away. I could feel it. Deep in my gut. It was eating me alive. So one night, after the kids went to bed, I sat her down. The house was quiet except for the hum of the fridge and the dull ache in my back. I kept my voice steady. "Calm. I know you're cheating on me," I said. "Don't make this messy. Just tell me the truth, and let's figure out how to end this clean. We're not just a couple, we're parents. Let's do this right for the kids." I was bracing for a denial. For gaslighting. For her to spin it and make me the crazy one. But she didn't. She just sighed, looked away, and then back at me. Took a deep breath and said it. Came out that she had been screwing around at the wedding. While I was here, crippled, exhausted, holding the house together, She was off in Florida, getting smitten by the best man at her friend's wedding. Turned out the guy was some rich music producer in his 60s. A silver-haired hotshot who probably hadn't lifted anything heavier than a wine glass in years. Her friend, the bride, had also married into money. Some Wall Street exec or something. And just like that, her life got an upgrade. New car, fancy condo, spa weekends. Natalia sat across from me, calm as stone, and said, I saw the shift in my friend's life after she got that guy. I thought, why can't I? I'm younger and gorgeous compared to her. She said it without flinching, like she was reading the weather report. When the best man showed interest in me, I played along, she went on. Like, why not? I took him as an escape from this grinding marriage. Her words sliced through me like paper cuts dipped in salt, but I didn't blink. I'd hit record on my phone just before the conversation started. She didn't even notice. I had to be smart. I was broke. I couldn't afford to be stupid. She leaned back on the couch, not a shred of remorse in her posture. He makes me feel special in ways you couldn't anymore, she said with a half smirk. The love, the attention, the gifts. You stopped seeing me, Max. He made me feel seen. Every word was like a knife to the chest. I'd been busting my back, literally, just to keep us alive, and here she was talking about spa days and attention like we weren't living through hell. We eventually talked about the kids. I told her I wasn't going to let them get caught in the crossfire. To my surprise, she agreed to joint custody without a fight. I'm not trying to take them away from you, she said. We'll figure something out. Just don't make this messy. But then she dropped the real bomb. I want the house, she said. I stared at her, stunned. What are you talking about? The house isn't even paid off. We've got years left on the mortgage. She shrugged. My boyfriend said he can cover it. So, that was it. No discussion. She was already gone, mentally, emotionally, probably even before she boarded that plane to Florida. And I was just the idiot who took too long to see it. I filed for divorce the next week. I didn't have the energy or the cash to fight her on the house. My lawyer looked me dead in the eyes and said, Max, you're at the losing end. Her boyfriend's money gives her leverage. Dragging this out would bleed you dry. So I moved out, defeated. Now, I'm crashing on my brother's couch. It's this old, lumpy thing that makes my back scream louder than the warehouse shifts ever did. I thought she'd move in with the guy. I figured she'd pack the kids and go live that luxury life somewhere else. But no, he just comes over most days. Into my house. Into my bedroom. I can't stop picturing it. Them on my mattress. Her laughing. Him putting his feet up on my damn coffee table. The worst part? The kids are there too. She tells me. You can see them whenever you want. But it's not the same. I've got nowhere to bring them. I can't host them in a one-bedroom with a couch I can barely sleep on myself. And it eats me alive. Makes me feel like a deadbeat, even though I'm trying. The other day, my son looked up at me and said, Mom quit her job. She's home all the time now. She's happy. I forced a smile. That's good, bud. But inside, it was like a stab in the face. She's out there living this queen-sized life, getting pampered and loved, while I'm scraping by, eating ramen, watching my kids grow up from the sidelines. And I keep thinking, karma's gotta catch up, right? But then I see her, flashing her new life, like rubbing salt in an open wound. And I start to wonder, maybe karma doesn't come for everyone. I'm drowning in depression, and I don't even have the time or money to afford therapy. People kept trying to justify what Natalia did. She had a rough time too, they'd say. She carried a lot on her shoulders. Yeah, so did I. Marriage isn't just about the good days. It's not always sunshine and Saturday brunches. What about the vows? In sickness and in health. For better or worse. Yes, she had tough times after my accident. So did I. But does that give her a license to cheat? To bail out the moment life stops being easy? Every time I saw a picture of her flashing her new lifestyle, lounging on some beach, wine in hand, the kids grinning beside her like everything was perfect, it twisted the knife deeper. I tried to focus on my work, tried to drown it all out, but the jabs kept coming, like echoes I couldn't silence. The depression didn't hit like a wave. It crept in slow, like a black hole pulling me down. I'd wake up on my brother's lumpy couch, staring at the water-stained ceiling, and feel like a complete failure. Couldn't provide a home for my kids. Couldn't keep my marriage together. Could barely stand some mornings without wincing in pain. My back pain. It got worse. Way worse. The stress was eating me alive, and my body was paying the price. I started popping painkillers just to get through shifts at the warehouse. But even that wasn't enough anymore. Then one day, I was stacking boxes when everything went blurry. Next thing I remember, I'm waking up in a hospital bed, tubes everywhere, machines beeping like I was in a sci-fi movie. Doc walks in and says, Maxwell, you collapsed at work. You've done serious damage. You're going to need another round of spinal surgeries. My heart sank. I thought I'd ruined myself for good. I was terrified. But here's the crazy part. These surgeries, they worked. They fixed something the earlier ones didn't. Because I collapsed on the job, part of the treatment ended up being covered by the company. A small mercy. This time, I learned my lesson. No more acting like the tough guy. No more dragging my body through hell just to prove I was still useful. I didn't rush back to work. I didn't beg for my part-time job back when I lost it. I let it go. I focused on recovery. I rested like the doctors told me. I went to physical therapy, did every stretch, every session, bit down through the pain and trusted the process. And slowly, my body started healing. I started to feel stronger, more stable. It was like getting a piece of my younger self back. But the real game changer? I finally got help for my head. I couldn't afford therapy, not really. Hell, some days I barely had enough for groceries. But one of the guys at work, Miguel, he pulled me aside one afternoon. Said, "Hey man, you ever heard of that low-cost clinic over by Maple and 3rd? They've got counseling, sliding scale stuff. Saved my ass after my divorce." I showed up the next week. Told myself I'd give it one shot. Just talk. And I did. I started going. Man, just talking about it. About the weight of the last 3 years, the cheating, the divorce, the guilt over not being there for the kids. It was like letting air out of a tire that was about to burst. Things started looking brighter. For the first time in years, it felt like I could actually see a way out of the mess. Not just wishful thinking, real light at the end of the tunnel. I even joined a gym. Yummy. The guy who used to wince just trying to lift his daughter off the couch. Started slow, real slow. Just walking on the treadmill, a few light stretches, learning how to move again without my back screaming bloody murder. But damn, it felt good. Like I had control over something again. Work got better, too. I threw everything I had into that promotion I'd been chasing since before the accident. I stayed late, took on extra shifts, said yes to every miserable task nobody else wanted. And then, one Thursday afternoon, my supervisor pulled me into the office. He gave me this look, half grin, half serious, and said, "You've earned it, Max. You're getting the promotion." I swear I thought I misheard him. I just sat there for a second, blinking. He laughed and clapped my shoulder. "Congrats, man. Pay bump kicks in next cycle." It wasn't some lottery win or anything, but it was enough to finally get off my brother's lumpy couch. I found this small apartment, nothing fancy, but it had a second bedroom, a room for the kids. That first weekend they came over, they ran through the door, laughing, jumping on the mattress I'd set up for them like it was a castle. "Dad, this is ours," my daughter asked, her eyes wide. I nodded, smiling so hard my face hurt. "Yeah, kiddo. Yours and mine." Man, that moment, it was everything. Then, 3 months ago, Natalia pulled a move that absolutely floored me. She called one morning while I was packing the kids' lunches. Her voice was cold, detached. "I'm moving to Europe," she said flatly. I blinked. "What? With the kids?" "No," she said. "Just me and Darren. The kids they're holding me back from living the life I deserve." I couldn't even speak. "They'll be better off with you anyway," she added. Like she was passing off a gym bag. She just handed them over. No fight. No guilt. Nothing. At first, I was stunned. Who does that? Who leaves their own kids like their clutter getting in the way of a dream vacation? But then it hit me. I had them now. Full time. No shared custody. No random phone calls from her. Just me and them. And the best part? I was ready. I had a roof. I had money for groceries. I had a body that worked again. I wasn't broken anymore. Then, just a week ago, the real sunshine broke through. Remember that accident? The one that started this whole damn nightmare? Turns out the kid who hit me, he was 16. Drunk. Driving his daddy's Ferrari. For the last 3 years, my lawyer had been dragging this case through every court imaginable, fighting to prove I wasn't at fault, that I hadn't brought this hell on myself. And finally, we won. The court ruled in my favor. The kid's family was ordered to pay $1.2 million. You heard that right. Every dime of medical debt, therapy, surgery, plus damages for pain and suffering. It hasn't hit my bank account yet, but it's coming. Call me crazy, but I've already started looking to buy a house. For me, for the kids, for our future. After everything we've been through, yeah, it feels like a damn dream. I'm not out here shopping for yachts or gold watches. I'm just trying to give my kids a safe, stable place. A real home. A backyard where they can run wild. Maybe even set up a little basketball hoop for my boy. I've been pinching pennies for so long, stretching every dollar, skipping meals so the kids could have seconds. And now, suddenly, I don't have to sweat every bill. I'm not saying I'm out of the woods. The depression's still there. Lurking. Waiting. And raising 2 kids solo while working full-time? It's no walk in the park. But I feel like I'm finally doing more than just surviving. I'm hopeful now. Like, actually hopeful. My kids are with me. My health is better. And I've got this money that's not for some wild fantasy. It's for a real shot at a future. Maybe karma isn't such a myth after all. So yeah, about 2 months back, That 1.2 million hit my bank account. I stared at the screen for a good 10 minutes, refreshing it, rubbing my eyes. It didn't even look real. After everything, the couch surfing, the ramen, the cold nights wondering if I'd ever be whole again, it was like a fever dream. I didn't blow it. I got smart. Got a realtor. We're close to closing on a solid house. Nothing flashy, just a warm home in a good neighborhood. Decent schools. Big backyard. Safe. But here's the thing. When you're co-parenting, you can't hide much. Kids are kids, they talk. So of course, during one of their calls with Natalia, they're all excited. Mom, Dad's buying a house. It's so cool. He said we might get a basketball hoop. Didn't take long after that. She called me up the next day. Voice all sweet and sugar-coated. So, did you finally get that compensation? I paused, but I didn't lie. Yeah, it came through. Next thing I know, boom, an intimation from her lawyer. Apparently, she wants a cut of the money. Her reasoning? That she also suffered because of my accident. Dealing with the bills, the kids, the stress, so she deserves something too. I stared at the letter like it was a joke, like someone sent it as a prank. Took it straight to my lawyer, and the man laughed. Actually laughed. She's got no claim, he said, shaking his head. Money came after the divorce. She's not entitled to a dime. He sent back an official response, spelling it all out, black and white. She didn't take it well. Started blowing up my phone with texts. You owe me, Max. I held it together while you were recovering. Held it together. While I was limping through life and popping painkillers just to stand upright, she was out there perfecting her throat game on some guy who thought auto-tune was a personality. And now she wants to talk about holding it together? Yeah, sure. I didn't even respond to her texts. Just stared at them, shook my head, and deleted them. Not worth my energy. Then, a few weeks back, she shows up in town again. Out of nowhere. Word gets around she's crashing at her cousin's place now. Big shocker, right? What happened to the house she fought so hard to take in the divorce? The one I worked myself into the ground to pay for? Well, turns out her high-flying boyfriend wasn't so generous after all. According to what her sister told me last weekend, the guy basically bought her out. He gave her a chunk of cash, a few designer bags, some jewelry to keep her quiet, then took over the house. Paid off the mortgage, changed the deed, and that was that. She got the boot. So in the end, she's left with nothing. And now, she's back at her old job at the boutique, folding sweaters and running the register. No more yacht parties. No more designer shoes. Just retail hours and lunch breaks in the stockroom. Of late, she's been dropping by my place to see the kids. Which, look, I'm okay with. She's their mom. I'm not going to be the guy who uses the kids as leverage. But she's laying it on thick, acting all warm and fuzzy, like she's suddenly the nurturing mom of the year. Last Saturday, her sister was in town. She dropped by to see the kids and stayed for coffee. She leaned in and said, Max, her life's a train wreck now. Total chaos. Apparently, the boyfriend? He wasn't some big-shot music mogul like he claimed. Turns out he produces cheap albums for random wannabe influencers. Smoke and mirrors. And worse, she caught him messing around. With multiple younger women. Models, if you believe him. When she called him out, he just looked at her and said, It's business, babe. Get over it. Real class act. And then the part that really got me. Her sister says he hit her once. Maybe twice. She swears she left him, packed her bags, and came back to the city. But I don't buy it. Sounds to me like he kicked her to the curb once he got bored. Now she's back here, trying to rebrand herself as the good mom who came back for her kids. Meanwhile, I'm doing better than I've felt in years. Those surgeries fixed more than just my spine. They fixed something inside me. I stuck with therapy. I kept going to the gym. No, I'm not ripped or anything, but I'm strong. Strong enough to toss my daughter in the air again and catch her without wincing. Strong enough to carry my son on my shoulders without worrying I'll collapse halfway down the block. Karma might have taken its sweet time, but it's finally showing up. I'm focused. On my kids. On my health. On that house I'm about to buy. Maybe I'll even throw in a tree house for the kids. Why not, right? It's been almost a year since everything flipped, for the better this time. I closed the deal on the house in April. Not some fancy mansion or anything, but solid, sunlit, and ours. Big backyard, sturdy fence, and yeah, I built that damn tree house. Took me a couple weekends, a few YouTube tutorials, and more sore muscles than I'd care to admit. But when my son climbed up for the first time and yelled, Dad, this is the coolest thing ever, I felt 10 feet tall. My daughter helped me paint it, too. Pink stars and blue rockets. She said it looked like a galaxy fort. And now it's their hideout, their reading nook, their tiny kingdom. Seeing them happy in that yard, laughing like they've never known pain, it heals something in me every single day. I finally have weekends again. Real weekends. We make pancakes every Saturday. I taught the kids how to ride bikes. I even joined a single dads group at the local gym. Not just for workouts, but for support, for laughs, for building a new kind of brotherhood. Turns out I'm not alone, not even close. And the best part? I've started writing. Just for myself, at first. Journaling, venting, telling my story. One of the guys in my support group read a piece I shared and said, "You ever think about publishing this?" I shrugged, but then I did. I started a blog. People connected to it, other dads, single parents, folks recovering from trauma. I started getting messages. "Thank you for writing this. You helped me feel less alone." That's when I knew, maybe this pain wasn't wasted. Natalia? She still drifts in and out. She visits the kids, puts on her warm mom mask, but it never lasts. They're old enough now to see through things. They don't hate her, but they know who shows up every day, who makes the lunches, cheers from the sidelines, helps with the homework. And me? I'm content. Not every day is easy. And yeah, there are moments the darkness still knocks. But now I know how to answer it. I've got tools. I've got purpose. Most of all, I've got my kids. I've got my life back. Not the old life, but a new one I built from the ashes. And that feels like the happiest damn ending I could ever ask for. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.